let's get the screen share right this time. There we go. I'm going to start that again. So, all right, now you got eyes on the screen. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so just start it over again here. So, the symbols list is how essentially someone says, oh, I want to create a watch list. I want the scan to only look at those stocks. Um, you know, if they're going to only alert these stocks. And it's also a way that people create like our ETF tracker lists and things like that to know, different sections of the market, what they're doing. And this is more or less how I mostly use trade ideas at this point, where I think that one of the best things that anybody can do is narrow down the data as much as possible so that, you're not looking at a million different screens and all these symbols and stocks are coming through and what do I do with all this stuff? Kind of an old saying is analysis, paralysis by analysis. So essentially we have a whole set of symbols lists that are already created, plus a user can create their own and then send any stock off a scan or a chart to those symbols list. So the first place you can come finding the symbols list is going to be in the tools here, and symbols list. Again, it functions a little bit differently than the app does. So essentially brings you to the web page where you're connected to your account in the web page, and then you can see your personal lists here. um, Get the drawing tool out, so you've got personal lists, and then you have the shared symbols list, and this is the ones that basically trade ideas has created for people, and we manage and update those ourselves. So on those lists there, um, you can scroll down and you can take a look and you can view, you know sorry, you can't view what we've done in the inner lists here. This way they can't be edited by a user, but you can view in yours here. If you go to edit, for example, my holdings, these are stocks that I'm currently holding right now or I have held within the last day. If you go back, we can see I used the my liked a lot here, and so this is everything that I've used that heart for. So it comes back to the hearts on the charts right here. So that's anything that I've clicked that heart with is going to be listed right here in this section here of my liked. And then there's a couple of other lists that I created. I have a tracker that looks at different stocks, or I should say markets around the world, and then one that looks at SPACs, and one that looks at sectors. Essentially, a sector is like what we call an ETF. So you have like a ETF that tracks the airlines, an ETF that tracks cloud computing stocks, an ETF that tracks different types of oil stocks, so on and so forth. And so this is a way to get a snapshot of what those all look like. So when you're actually in the app itself, you can right click, for example, let's say we got costs right here, KOSS, and we right click and we see send to symbols list, and it'll have all the different symbols lists that I'm allowed to edit that I've created myself to be able to send it to any one of those. So am I going too fast, or does anything not make sense? Is there a question I can answer?
No, that's all pretty clear.
Okie dokie. So now going back to kind of how I do this is, so if I come to load from cloud and see if I can find, I don't have one saved here, but what I'll do is I'll create a new top list. So if we come to new, we come to top lists. All right. Right now it's going to look at whatever the default is in this top list. But if we right click, we come to the configure here and pop it out, and we look at symbols list. Right now it says it's looking at all symbols. But if I check this right here, my liked, the only thing it's going to look at is my like symbols. And then we have to also look at the filters as always. So this will affect what it's looking at because I have stocks that are going to be over $5. So I'm going to want to I like to get rid of these because I already have curated the list personally. So what I do is I don't need any filters because I already know it's on that list. And just want to scroll down, make sure that we don't have anything else filled out. Doesn't look like there is data anywhere else coming in. to block that. And so now all this is just a generic top list. There's no filters. All it knows is look at every stock that is on this specific symbols list here, and that is it. And so then by pressing OK, we're going to change that sort. What you see there for that sort is it's going to be displaying the stocks with the biggest relative volume on the top. I personally, because I'm looking at stocks that are changing in their percent value on the day, what I do is I like to come to the sort and I like to look for change from close percent. So we just search change from close and we see two. One's got a dollar sign, one's got a percent sign. So we take the change from close percent is what I personally prefer. And so that is what I'm going to be sorting on. Press OK, and now we can see here that's the change that I made. We press OK again. And now in this list, that's all it's going to show me is everything that I've liked. And if we click through the list, we'll see on each one of these here on the charts, heart is red. And something I always like to point out, I know I've probably pointed it out before, but a second way to keep track of these is, once again, you can go over that heart and I can look, I can see I like this on, March 1st, a couple of days ago, and gives me the specific time and all that. So what I do, at night, or anybody can do when they have a scan, they can take those scans and then go back through what they did during the day. So for example, we could take, if we come to tools, tools, load from cloud. So we can take, I'm trying to think of what scans we saved together here. But anybody, if you want to open up any of the scans that you have that are in there, what I do is I use my evening scan. So my evening scan, this is the particular one I'm using these days, but you could take any scan and then, during the night, what I do is I go through every one of these stocks that are on here. I'm going to look at them on the charts in the way that I like to look at them. We kind of went over that in the last video, how I look at the charts at night. And that's where I put them on the My Liked, and I can manage that list from there. Now, that doesn't have to be used just like that, the symbols list. You can also use the symbols list to exclude different stocks too. So for example, we get a lot of times where someone's saying, oh, well, I don't want to see warrants, or I don't want to see the symbols that have that plus symbol that comes after it, or some other unit that comes after it, because a lot of those stocks aren't tradable actually, even though they come through our data. Some of them might be something that only insiders can buy, things like that. So if we come to the configure and pop out again, and we come back to the symbols list, we can also say, instead of only the following lists, we can exclude the following list too. So we can click exclude there, and then for example we can come through here, and for example a popular one that people like to get rid of is warrants. So if we scroll down, we can look at warrants, we can check that. Another one that people want to get rid of a lot of times is special NYSE symbols. So oftentimes you'll see the symbol say ABC with a plus sign after it. This will eliminate those symbols for anybody that's looking to eliminate those symbols. And by doing that, when we press OK, it would tell us now that we've left everything else the same here for that particular scan, the short squeeze activity, but now it would not look at those specific ones there. So I'm not going to save it like that, but this is, a way to use our symbols list, whether it's one we've created or something someone else has created. And someone could do the same exact thing if they wanted to say, let's say there's a symbol that keeps coming through that they don't like, there's no other way for them to exclude it. They could once again come to, we'll start from the beginning just because, on the tools, they come to symbols lists. Again, it'll bring that up and you can create a new list, call it whatever you like, stocks I don't like. And then right from there, you come into here and you can type whatever symbols you want. You don't have to worry about capitalizing any of it. It'll take care of it on its own, because I know that usually when people look at stock tickers, they're all in capital letters. There's no need to do it here. You type it. If you want to capitalize it, great, and if not, it'll do it on its own just the way it should do it. So again, I'll stop if there's a question or anything that doesn't make sense or something you want me to demonstrate again. All right. So again, kind of I want to tailor this when we do these a little bit more to, if you any of you decide that you want to participate in any kind of trading or investing or anything like that, something that's more reasonable given a work schedule while trying to maintain these. And I think it plays well into more or less, like I said, how I use the software at this point. So the idea is, if you're sitting there at night and you're looking at different stocks and you're trying to scan through them and figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, that's where I think that the my liked symbol or any other type of symbols list that you want to create can play a really big advantage for you. And like I said, you don't have the simulator. You could start up an AWS. I think Michael will start something up for you guys if you wanted to run the app from the Windows side of things with your Macs. But until you decide to cross that bridge or not, you can still continue to use the heart up here and track when you happen to like something, and you don't have to necessarily do it from a scan. I've heard people say, oh well, I buy everything from Amazon. Everyone I know buys things from Amazon. You could do the exact, whatever research that you want to use, whether it be the scans or the scans to confirm. You can use any of that in combination with what's going on here. So that's, I think, just a powerful way, especially for a newer person using the software or someone that's newer to looking at data from the markets, to kind of narrow it down so it doesn't become overwhelming and confusing. If you have, three different scans that are right here, or yeah, three different scans because single stock window that's here. It can become overwhelming trying to look at everything that's coming through every single one of these. So now, if you have your own scans that are set up, I think that makes it a little easier for you to manage all that information and data that's coming through, more or less. So one of the other things that I like to do is I run a ETF list, and I think there's a lot of people that can benefit from this as well. So when I'm saying oil stocks in general, or airlines in general, or banks, or retail in general. So we can do the same thing here. And by coming to new, we were to pop out a top list. And we're going to configure symbols list. And I have the sector analysis list. Now this is something that I've created, and if any of you wanted it, I can email you the symbols that I already have that's put in it to make it easy so you don't have to go researching all these ETFs on your own. And so if we click that, now we know we're only looking at that. We'll come back to the filters and get rid of all the filters again. And so we want to make sure the sort is what we want it to be. We don't want daily volume. We want to sort on change from close. Percent. Click. We see it's there again. Click. And so now, to give you a snapshot of what I'm talking about here, this list here now is only looking at all the stocks that I have on this symbols list here that says sector analysis. So everything that's here, and I can, if any of you want this list, I can email it to you. It's a pretty good list, a little more extensive than I think some of the other people use. But now, when you're saying, oh, retail's doing well or airlines are doing well, every one of these is not an actual stock. It's an ETF that's here. And so it's looking at a whole conglomerate of different stocks essentially. If you wanted to know what the actual stocks in them, you could probably do a Google search, find those pretty handily. But so for example, jets, that's going to be your airlines more or less. And so someone's saying, oh, the airlines are doing, whatever they're doing. And it comes back to, like I said, more or less how I use the program and the charts that I look at. And I, always come back to this kind of U shape that I'm always looking at. And if we look at that there, you can see that, coronavirus happened, nobody's traveling, or some people are traveling a little bit, people are traveling more. So the general thesis of this is like that. And then I can say, oh, well, my evening scan showed me, these airline stocks that are coming through. Let's match it up. Do the airlines look healthier, or is that just one anomaly stock by itself? And this is a way that essentially taking and getting confirmation of the data that you're already looking at more or less. And then the same concept applies if we come through, we look at, any of these other sectors, and they'll all be up here. So it's, it says up here, if we look, US Global Jets, ETF. And the same thing will happen as we click through. So for example, oil. And here you have crude oil, all right? XOP, that's going to be more or less exploration of gas and oil. So as you click through, you can find where the strength is. You can say, oh, well, price of oil's been going up, and, my gas, filling my gas tank costs more, and all of a sudden I see all these oil stocks. Well, what's the oil sector doing? Or vice versa, you can say, oh, I'm looking at all these malls are packed around me, or outlets or whatever shopping. And that's where you can come to. I'm going to look for the XRT. It's on there somewhere, but we can just type it this way. So, and then look, retail ETF. So same kind of concept, so that, if you're taking any of the scans at night, whether it's one of the ones that are in here, or I'll share this, I'll put it in here. And if you all like to use your skills of saving and sharing from the cloud, I'll give you the scan that I use every night. It's a very simple scan. It looks for those patterns that I'm always trying to show you on the charts here. And so if I come to it and I click share, I'm going to copy the URL and drop it into the chat for you all there. So now if any of you click that, what's going to happen is, I'll click it now to do it. It's going to load up this URL up here. And you're going to copy that and come back to here. And let's get rid of that. And if we go to tools and load from cloud, we can paste that URL right here, and we'll click load, and now it's going to load that scan right there. Like I said, this is my go-to evening scan. So if, you're sitting there and bored, stuck inside, or weather or whatever else going on, you say, you know what, let me take a look. Let me see, what is Chris looking at every night? This is what I'm looking at right here. So this will be, I'll go through all these charts in a little bit when we wrap up here, and I'll decide, do they meet any of my criteria? And then I like to match up what's going on in these charts with what's going on in the sectors over here. So for example, take what's right on the top, MK, I can tell you it's a semiconductor from Luxembourg, I believe. And it's something I've been tracking actually for a long time. If we look here, I've been tracking since February 8th actually. But I can look at that and I can say to myself, well, what is the semiconductors doing? And I know that's SMH. I'm not sure where it is located here, probably down at the bottom. There we go, SMH, because I know that had a bad day in the market today. And we can look and we can see, well, the SMH was getting pounded all day today. It was, down the whole day. It was a bad day for the semiconductors. But this particular one here had a really great day. So maybe that's something to look for some follow through, especially if this sector starts to show strength again. And that's how we leverage the different scans in the program to kind of give us information confirmation based on what we decide we like on charts, and then what the scans decide we're looking at based on our criteria of what we like on those charts. So, and then take it one step further here. If we look at a daily chart on this, we could see in general there had been a lot of strength going back to November here. That this has more or less been up, 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 up. It's pulled back a little bit here, kind of flattening out. So we could say to ourselves, well, on the flip side of it, yes, this had a great day, but this looks like we're pulling down a little bit here. So maybe I also want to be careful about getting in that, because if this decides to play ball with the rest of the semiconductors, will that take a rollover too? So am I going too fast? Am I making sense? Am I droning on too much?
You make sense.
Yeah, this makes sense.
Okay. So 453 for me. Are there any other questions, or do you want me to like demonstrate in a way, or do you have a question about the sectors, how they work, or the symbols lists?
I don't think I have any questions.
Okie dokie. So, I mean, one other thing that you can do as well, again, if any of you are looking to say, all right, I want to, start to learn how to do some of this and put some money to work somewhere at some point, you don't have to just stick to either the scan that I showed you. First off, there are, countless amounts of scans. You can start anywhere in the channel bar that's over here, and you can go through different things. If something, you have a particular interest in something, if I don't know what anybody studied in their backgrounds prior or what they have a personal interest in, but you can look at any of these and start to go through these here and start to match them up with what's going on in charts and what's in your head. Or obviously, all of us have, when I say all of us, all the other traders, we have different scans that we either have used or currently use, and you could always ping one of us for those scans, because they're not in the traders vault. We'll have them in our clouds ourselves. I think the traders vault's somewhere around here. We're not. There we go. So I mean, if I click the traders vault here and let that load up, you know take a few minutes and go through, and you can play with all these different scans here as I lock up. And there we go. There's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 so there's like 28 different scans that are in here. So there's plenty of stuff to mess around with in here. And then, as I've been telling anybody when I do a one-on-one with them, or um, anybody that's coming into the chat to troubleshoot them there, it goes back to exactly what we've done over and over, especially from the first one of these videos that we did. Everything in Trade Ideas is a right click, more or less. If it's not from this bar up here, or from the channel bar here, it's a right click. So you can say, what are these scans doing? What are they looking for? How might they apply to me? And again, right click, configure and pop out. And it's going to give you everything right up here. You can either go to the filters list and scroll through yourself what's there. You can come to the summary again, and it's going to tell you exactly what it's looking for. And just as a refresher, a right click on any of these and pressing help, once again, it's going to bring these all up to here. As we load ever so slowly, but I'm going to bring you to all the descriptions of the filters and alerts that are there for you. So bring it back here, bring it back here, and we can go through real quick, I guess, for the last couple minutes here, and look at what some of these symbols are. So I'm going to go to see if I can load from my cloud and find a layout. So I have my evening scan layout here, and just for fun, if you want to put it in your cloud, I'll share it with you all. If you want to load it now, just to have it loaded, I'll go through a couple of charts really quick on that to wrap us up here. So click, load, Give it a second. It's going to be a little bit squished because stuck in this one container here. And we're going to be extra slow as my machine's working extra hard right now. There we go. And so I know it's a little bit squished, but if we look here, this is the My Evening scan list that I shared with you before. Um, this is an alert window that only looks at things from My Liked. And so what I do every night is I go through the My Liked list and I start to go through and say what's coming off the list. Might have had a bad day, a bad week. Is it not meeting my criteria anymore? And then I have different charts here. So we have weekly chart because I like to look at weekly charts. Then this is going to be a daily chart there. And then behind it is a 15-minute chart. I usually have that on a separate screen, but squashed it all into here as of now. And then these are all single stock windows again here. Single stock window, single stock window, single stock window, and I have them all to display different data. So this one here is showing, normally it's supposed to be showing the insiders, because I like to know, are the insiders buying or selling the stock? And then this one here is going to be details of the day, just so I can know, what was the relative volume doing. And these are all metrics that play a role into whether or not it's going to make my list or not. And so just to go over a couple of these real quick, MX I know is already on there. PVAC, that does not look familiar to me. It is on my liked apparently. So haven't paid a ton of attention, but it goes back to when we were looking at that sector list before. We saw that oil was doing really well, and what do we have? Crude petroleum and gas extraction. And so, oh no, I'm sorry. It was delayed taking that heart away. So we're looking at this here, and so this is going to meet my criteria to come on tonight. Did okay on volume that we saw right there. It's got these nice patterns that I like. Long base here. And everybody knows at pumps gas that price is going up. If you pay attention to the news, they've shut down some different pipelines or something like that. So I try not to let the news influence me too much, but it obviously has an effect that's going on with that. So I'm gonna go to my liked. Sting, I know those are tankers, and I believe they move a lot of oil and energy. I'm taking a second to load up here. And I don't have it liked currently at the moment, but it doesn't meet my criteria. While it has this nice this nice cup pattern that's here, I don't like that it hasn't been able to get out of this range in a long time. So for today, I would say it wouldn't go on there. We'll look at one more. Goodyear. Everybody needs tires for their cars, right? So this is one that I have liked previously, as it takes forever to load. And this is one that would stay on my list. Goes back to these things that I like to look at here. Now, someone might say, well, it's been up a lot the last few days. I would wait and watch it try to kind of bang around in this area for a little bit longer before possibly making that move up. But another thing, again, not to pay too much attention to the news, but I saw an article the other day that looks like all of Goodyear's prices are going up by about 8%. So I suppose that's good for their bottom line. I'll stop there if there's any questions. Otherwise, we'll call it a night.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You are very welcome, and I will get this all loaded up to YouTube and put it back over in the links here for you guys to look at any time that you like. So, all right. Well, thank you for letting me drone on as usual, and I will catch you all later.